Pat Kraft will remain in-state college for the foreseeable future. Penn State announcing today the school's AD has agreed to a new deal that will keep him in his position through 2032. Kraft came to Penn State from Boston College just over 2 years ago. High expectations for Penn State football this year. Won 10 games last season. Bring back one of the best running back tandems in the nation, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen. Those two will be following the play calls of new OC Andy Kotelnicki, who came from Kansas in the offseason, and they have a really big test right off the bat. They're going to West Virginia, one of the best matchups in all of the country in week one. So, Yogi, how do they escape Morgantown with a win? What do they need to do?
Keep your helmet on. I wear that helmet back there every time I go to Morgantown. We played them twice in college, and it is a raucous environment, to say the least. But it's amazing, right? Especially to kick off the season. What do they need to do? I think they need to make sure this defense with Abdul Carter and company, Zane Durant, who I just love on the interior defensive line, they need to shut down Garrett Green. Garrett Green is one of the more dynamic quarterbacks Penn State will face all season long. Saw him over the summer. This guy and his teammates are juiced and primed for this home game to kick off the season. So that's number one. And then two, of course, we all want to see the offense. Andy Kotelnicki, Drew Aller, they got two of the best backs in America. But what can this receiving core do? If they want to make noise in the playoff, we might not see it from jump, but we're going to have to see it. I keep going back to this, man. Critical downs and distances. You could chart it at home. If you want to win a tight game, you've got to make 3 elite throws in the second half. I'm talking about spot throws on that front shoulder. Not out here, not low. What can Drew Aller do in a big-time matchup? I think he's going to play great. I think he's been calloused. I think what he went through last year, phone number getting leaked, challenging games against the top teams they played. I look forward to seeing him bounce it back. I think he went through some adversity. I think he's scarred up a little bit, and I really want to see this offense.
Yeah, you talking about being scarred up. We look at this offensive line. They were much better, but they have to be able to run the ball and get those explosive plays out of the run game, which they've really lacked. It wasn't just the pass game. It was the run game as well. They've got to be able to control the line of scrimmage, and if they can do that with the two talented backs, I think they'll be just fine. And you talk about Drew Aller being able to make some of those throws. It's going to be critical that he makes those throws on the road because it's always a difficult place. Major Harris isn't on the other sideline. Go way back on you there.
Oh, yeah. Great West Virginia quarterback of the past.
The guy in the center right now for them is really, really talented, and they're going to have to be able to turn the football over.
And West Virginia, this is not a series they've had really any success in. They played 61 times. They've won 9 of them all time. They feel like this is one they can compete in and one they can win in. And I think you guys are both kind of touching on similar themes, which is, can you stretch the field to open up the lanes for those running backs? Because to your point, Howard, the explosion in the run game decreased dramatically a season ago from where it had been the previous year. Penn State knows who its QB is going to be. Michigan had a quarterback battle raging throughout camp. Alex Orji and Davis Warren battling it out. They look to replace Big Ten QB of the year, J.J. McCarthy. Neither is particularly experienced. Orji has thrown 1 career pass. Warren has thrown 14. He was 0 of 5 with a pick last season. Jack Tuttle has the most experience in that room, but he is still recovering from an injury. We brought you a little bit of that news conference off the top of the show. Sharon Moore, we were talking about the notice of allegations with the NCAA. We did want to update you. He was asked about it once during the news conference, didn't really get into any specifics with the media that was gathered there. So obviously we'll continue to follow that story. Let's talk about his team, Yogi, a team in transition. So is Fresno State. Jeff Tedford, who was the coach there, unfortunately had to step down due to health concerns here in the preseason. Fresno is a team that is thought very highly of coming into this year, but certainly some unknowns there. Obviously, with Michigan, we know that the defense is largely a known commodity. Offense, a lot of questions at the skill positions. What do you think here?
Well, I think Fresno State's going to come ready to play. I mean, out here in California, they have a phrase that's been going around about 30, 40 years there of like anyone, anytime, anywhere. I mean, that's just kind of what the Fresno State vibe is, just to get everybody in Ann Arbor ready. They're not going to come in intimidated by the environment. They'll respect it. But I think when you look at them schematically, they're going to be really sound, much like Michigan will. I think when I look at quarterback, at least coming off of practice and seeing the size, productivity, the unique traits that Alex Orji has, I don't know how he doesn't play, right? He's going to have an influence within this ballgame. Yeah, big thumbs up for me in that regard. How much? We'll see, right? Where does Davis Warren do? I think the scary part of this game for me, if I'm Michigan, against a Fresno team that they got better receiver in the portal, they think they can run the football, they like their quarterback, is that if all of a sudden you go 3 and out and just possessions start getting limited, that's where you get scared. They should lean on Fresno State. They should wear them out throughout the majority of this ball game. But QB, I can't wait to watch Alex Orji play. I think Davis Warren will get his shot. And they've got a schedule that is not easy, right? It's not Ohio State where they have the first 3 games kind of like an NFL preseason. They got Texas coming to town next week. So the decisions, I'd imagine, were already made in terms of who's playing and how they're playing, but I wouldn't be shocked to see both quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think we'll see both. It's just, I think just the process. When we were there, no one was really out in front of one another, but I do believe Orji gives them the best opportunity to go out and win games when you talk about the upside that he has. Donovan Edwards would be a big part of that offensive line. You talked about being able to lean on their opponent. I think this is a talented offensive line. Coach Newsom has done a great job of really getting them going, and I think it'll be important for them to run the football and really set the tempo and set the expectations for what needs to happen at Michigan football.
And I think we all left Michigan camp feeling like the defense would be solid, maybe even better than solid, maybe very good. A group that led the nation in total defense and scoring defense a year ago. I want to ask both of you guys, what's success for Michigan this year? Like, what could you look at? Do they need to make the playoff? Is that realistic? Or could they have a year where you say they went 9-3, they didn't quite make it, or went 8-4, but it was still a good year and Sharon Moore set his foundation? Yogi, I'll ask you that first. What do you think?
Well, I think it's kind of a TBD because we're in a new era of college football. Like the portal's been around for a little while, NIL's been around for a little while, but nowhere near what it is now. So I think expectations for blue blood programs like Ohio State, like Michigan, like SC, there's just a standard there, and especially coming off a natty and a win and everything that did momentum-wise for this program, and of course Sharon Moore now being the head coach. I think the fan base, like every fan base, probably expects them to either repeat or get back to the playoff. I think for me, it's going to be all about the development of these quarterbacks, and especially in week 2. I comp them a lot to Bama last year. Remember Alabama last year? They played Texas at home, and they didn't really have their quarterback thing figured out. Took a couple weeks, but then by week 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way through the end of the season, they became one of the more talented teams in the country. I think Michigan's going to have an opportunity like that because this position, look, you got to grow at it. You got to play. You got to play in games. Neither one of the guys that will play on Saturday have any dramatic amount of snaps in meaningful games, at least in totality of series after series after series.
Yeah, I think this is a team, when you look at it, the bar will be raised each and every week. The more momentum, the wins that they put together, when we see this team continue to improve, the quarterback play to continue to improve, I think to be in the playoffs would be huge for them.
It'd be amazing.
It would be unbelievable. But you think about there's a system in place right now, and I think that's one of the reasons this coaching staff seems so relaxed and so calm. The players have responded to what they've been taught and how they've been coached to this point. So I expect the bar to continue to move when you talk about Michigan, but if they can make the 14 playoffs, it will be a significant really hurdle to cross.
Really interested to have this discussion 2 weeks from now. Like there are a lot of teams you don't learn a lot in those first couple weeks. Fresno State, Texas, we're going to learn an awful lot about where things stand with Michigan.